Brilliance Audio presents Tell, Love, Defiance, and the Military Trial at the Tipping Point for Gay Rights by Major Margaret Witt with Tim Connor. Forward by Colonel Margareta Kammermeyer. Performed by Donna Postel and Major Margaret Witt. That Margie could be as honest with the U.S. Air Force as she was with her old friend Jill Spangler was out of the question. At the time she walked into the recruiting station, in a small, inauspicious brick building near the Tacoma Mall in South Tacoma, the general U.S. military practice, dating back more than 2 centuries, was to purge known homosexuals. This was true, even though the contributions of gay men and women to the armed services were well documented, and in large measure, quietly appreciated. Likewise, the premise that homosexual service members are inherently a threat to national security had also been debunked in research commissioned by the military. Although the research had been suppressed, the deep contradictions and absurdities of the expulsion policy were roundly exposed by Randy Shilts in his journalistic tour de force, Conduct Unbecoming, Gays and Lesbians in the U.S. Military. When Second Lieutenant Margaret Witt began her Air Force nursing career assignment at Castle Air Force Base, the military-wide policy had only recently, 1981, been standardized. Department of Defense Directive 1332.14 deemed that service members even attempting to engage in a homosexual act should, if discovered, be subject to a mandatory discharge. The policy was not uniformly enforced, in large part because countless known or suspected gay service members were valued by their commanders. Still, there had been approximately 100,000 military discharges for homosexuality since the Second World War. Margie was by no means ignorant of the policy. Neither was it her primary focus. At her own pace, and in her own way, she was confident she could pursue her Air Force career goals and also find the space and opportunities to have the sexual and romantic companionship she desired. And in that way, she was pretty much your ordinarily closeted gay American in uniform circa 1987. Which is not to say there was anything ordinary about her experience adjusting to the Air Force. Just because she was a woman attracted to other women didn't change the fact that she was attractive to men. Her first clue as to how that might play out came almost immediately. Literally within hours after her first visit to the Tacoma recruiting station, she received a phone call. It was a male voice, and not a sober one, over the unmistakable sounds of a bar. It was midquarter midnight. He told her his name, said he had met her at the recruiting office, and wanted to know if she would like to come out for a drink. Quickly realizing he had lifted her phone number off the recruiting forms he had given her to fill out, she was angry. "No, I won't come out and have a drink with you, and don't ever call here again." The next morning, still shaken, she reported him to the Air Force. A few days later, she received a phone call from a man identifying himself as an Air Force Judge Advocate General, JAG. He asked her to visit him at McCord Air Force Base, not far from the recruiting office. During the interview, the JAG officer told her, "It was pretty cut and dried. There's not much I can do to defend this guy." But it wasn't until the end of the interview that he squarely disclosed that he was actually the lawyer appointed to defend her midnight caller. She never learned whether or how the recruiter was disciplined. But neither did she let the creepy misconduct change her course, reasoning that she couldn't let the actions of one bad apple deter her. A Seattle-based officer, specializing in medical officers, contacted her to finish the recruiting process and arrange the signing, which her parents attended.